Thanks. I had to get the kid in the other room watching a movie. So hopefully she doesn't yell at us too much.
We understand. We deal with that a lot in the off season, so it's no problem at all. No problem at all. Here's our local folks. Some of these guys, go ahead, guys.
Luke, what led you down this road to get to play for your hometown team and sign here? What were kind of the things that fell into place for you?
Well, first of all, being non-tendered and let go by Cleveland kind of set it all up. And Cincinnati was one of the first teams to reach out, which was pretty cool for me. We had never, this being my sixth team, there was never really a season where Cincinnati came very seriously in play. So when they approached, in that first wave right after the tender deadline, I thought there was a real chance to make something happen with that. They were one of the first to put an offer out there, and we kind of got the ball rolling and got the deal done a little bit before Thanksgiving break, and everybody, kind of went home for the weekend. So it was nice to get it over with.
Where are you now?
I'm in my off-season address here in Palm Harbor, Florida. We're actually having some remodeling done with our house, and it's not quite ready. So we're doing the Airbnb life still, but we're at least back in our home off-season city.
Did you grow up a Reds fan? Did you grow up a Reds fan? Yeah,
very much so. That was, that was my team. That was my whole life, really, since the time I can even remember. Started going to Reds games at Riverfront Stadium when I was really, really little, and stopped going to them pretty much once I graduated high school and left town to go to college. But yeah, I definitely grew up a Reds fan.
What was your family's reaction when they found out you're going to be a Cincinnati Red?
They were pretty ecstatic. I think that's kind of an understatement. I kind of kept the negotiation process to myself because I didn't want anybody to get too excited in case, things happen all the time. But once we had a deal in place, I let them know that there was some traction with the Reds, and they did their best for a few days to keep it under wraps until the deal was announced, which I'm pretty impressed with.
Do you still have family in the area?
Oh yeah, my whole family's still there. We moved down to Florida in 2015 when I was with the Rays, because my wife was still working, and it just made sense to kind of set up shop down here for off seasons. But Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, tri-state area, whatever you want to call it. That's been my home my entire life. Every aunt, uncle, anybody I can think of still lives in the Northern Kentucky or greater Cincinnati area.
As far as this pitching staff and this team, what attracts you to the opportunity to be working with, especially when I'm sure the first names you'll hear about is Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo, Graham Ashcraft, and things like that. Is that part of what made this a good fit for you?
It was definitely part of it. Knowing how good their stuff is and has been, and the, like the glimpses of really, really dominant success they've had, kind of as watching it from afar, there's a lot there. I can't wait to see it in person. It's definitely too early for me to really talk specifically about, what I'm excited about, because I haven't caught him yet. But I've heard nothing but great things about him, and I really am looking forward to kind of seeing what they have to offer and how we can improve upon it.
Has anyone from Cubcath reached out to you yet?
I think the whole school's reached out to me. Yeah, it's been pretty cool. Their principal, Bob Rowe, texted me almost right away, and just said congratulations and how happy he was. It's been a really, really cool, 24 hours here. It's really difficult to put into words. I think, as you guys know, it's Cincinnati, and that area is the type of city where it's big enough to have its sports teams and everything, but it's small enough where everybody kind of knows everybody. And kind of circling back and experiencing that has been really amazing.
You've been in the league a good bit. How much did you kind of think over the years, like this could be a possibility, you coming back to play in Cincinnati?
I always hoped that I could cross it off at some point. I don't mean to say cross it off as if, I'm trying to change teams every year, but just the way my career has kind of trended is probably you would call it a journeyman type backup catcher at this point. And just kind of talk with my wife and my family and that it's like, I always knew I wanted to play for the Reds at some point. And in this game, you never really know how many opportunities you're going to have to do that. So as I mentioned earlier, when they were interested in getting a deal done, it obviously made me equally, if not more interested in getting a deal done. And, we had a very quick negotiation, and it was something that I could tell they wanted me, and that was good enough for me. We were ready to make a deal happen at that point.
Luke, have you allowed yourself to think about what opening day is going to be like when you're in a Reds uniform and running onto the field at Great American Ballpark for the first time? I have to think, you talked about that being your team growing up, that it's always been kind of a dream to run out of the field wearing the Reds uni.
Yeah, no question. I don't think it's truly sunk in how excited I'll be for that. I'd like to think that I might soak it in for, a minute and then get right back to baseball. I'm sure I'll find a way to do that. But, you mentioned opening day. I'm very aware of how cool opening day is at that stadium and in that city. Everything from the stuff that leads up to it and all the way to, the opening ceremonies and the game. I have Cincinnati, the Great American Ballpark is one of two stadiums I haven't played in as a big leaguer yet. So the fact that my first time there will be an opening day in Cincinnati is really, really fun to think about.
What's the second?
Arizona.
Are you going to be at Reds Fest this weekend? Will that be kind of the way to kind of re-welcome yourself with your family and everyone around here?
Yeah, I'm still kind of waiting to find out about that. So I had to fly to Cincinnati the last couple of days. Or actually, it was just for one day to get the physical done. Flew back. Wife's been dealing with the kids and everything down here in Florida. I mentioned we're renting because of the construction at our house. So it's been kind of hectic. I hope I'm able to make it back up, but I want to make sure the kids are taken care of and make sure we're good back here first.
Have you heard from Tyler Stevenson? If so, what have those conversations been like so far?
No, I haven't talked to anybody yet on the Reds, other than the skipper and the GM front office people. But that's normal. I think with Reds Fest coming up, if I am able to make it, I'm going to have plenty of great conversations up there.
How did you feel about?
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Bobby.
I was going to say, how do you feel about this year? You played a career high games. Obviously, team had a lot of success in Cleveland. Just how do you feel kind of the stage of your career going into Cincinnati?
Yeah, man. I'd like to think, the expectations weren't very high, at least from the outsides going into Cleveland last year. We had the lockout. Everything was moving pretty quickly. So we kind of had to hit the ground running, didn't really hear a lot of it. But I know that there was definitely some lower expectations. For me personally, as good of a year as we had, or as the pitchers had, I'm not going to say it's a feather in my cap or anything like that. I'm just trying to help us win games. But at the same time, to do it in close games, it felt like all year, and then to do it in meaningful games and be behind the plate for some really tense moments was kind of a sort of a growth spurt for my career personally. I'm excited to kind of transition that into what's going to be another young team with probably pretty low expectations from what I hear. And, I don't see why we can't repeat the process in Cincinnati.
Anything else, folks? Well, thank you all for time. Luke, thank you very much. I know you're hectic down there in your quasi home there. We appreciate you taking the time for us.
Thank you, Luke.
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks,
Welcome
Luke.
home.
Thank you, guys.
Máquina Deportiva, lo mejor del mundo del deporte, con análisis, comentarios, entrevistas.